You are, you should never stop. Keep moving, keep going. You will finally reach the extreme end. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are watching us from. This is AET TV, Empowering Youth in Technology. And my name is Bridget Cimenta, a proud, a proud personality in the media when it comes to Western Uganda. And when I am talking about this great event that we are yet to celebrate today or to talk about today and discuss the different topics that will be discussed today, I talk about it with a lot of pride because it shows me that people never stop going. People never give up. They still continue going, no matter how hard it becomes, but they will keep winding on the staircases until they finally reach the small final steps of their destinations. Yes, today I am very privileged to be the host of this event. As I had said, for those who do not know me, especially the people that are watching us on Zoom, my name once again is Bridget Cimenta, and I am very privileged to be here. Previously, when I was contacted by Madame Stella, I was very happy, I was excited, and she she told me, Bridget, I would like you to come and moderate my event. I'm like, oh wow, that is very good. I was so happy because I knew that what we are heading for is a very big deal to me. And even as she told me previously when we were celebrating the 16 days of activism, she told me that, Bridget, I've liked you. Anytime I have an event, I will call upon you to come and we work together. And indeed she has. Thank you so much, Madame Stella. So I'm very humbled to host this event. And as we set off, we are doing this as students living with disabilities in universities in Western Uganda. There are very many universities. Maybe the people that are around here, there are many as well, but the people online are very many because I know that people will be joining us. I see very many universities that are going to join us. We have Mbarara University of Science and Technology, Bishop Stewart University, Makerere University Business School, Mbarara Campus, Kampala International University, Western Campus, Metropolitan University, University of St. Joseph, Ankole Western University, Bishop Braham, yes, Bishop Bram University, Mountains of the Moon University, Kabale University, Uganda University, Tumu Nursing School, and I pray all these universities be represented, yes, so that we can be able to bring this point home, seeing how we can, as students living with disabilities in higher institutions of learning in Western Uganda, can come and fetch knowledge. I can call it actually fetch knowledge from such a great event. So today, as I had already said, we have very many people coming in, especially on Zoom. We have very great personalities that will be joining us and talking about various topics, yes. We have Mr. Ntaro Moses. This is a parent. He is a pastor. He is the assistant program coordinator of the CBE, that is Community-Based Education at Mbarara University of Science and Technology. And we are yet to hear from him. I know he is ready, and we shall be hearing from him very soon. We have Mr. Ambrose Murangira. We have Mr. Ambrose Murangira, and he will be discussing how to make higher institutions of learning inclusive. This is something that we all have to learn from, because I see that since it is targeting us, maybe many of the people that are in the building as students, I know it is something that will help us learn a lot from him. Mr. Ambrose Murangira has a very great profile. He is the Director of Disability Inclusion at Light for the World, and it is a global disability and development organization centered in Uganda. So I tell us we have very great personalities that we are going to listen to and learn from today, so that we can be able to pick something that will lead our lives to greater and greater horizons. We also have Mr. Vincent Ngabirano. He is a council member for the people living with disabilities. Yes. And we are also yet to hear from him. We shall listen from Nariama James, and he will be able to lead us in MAST PWD's association or life here at campus. And finally, we shall have the different students that are within this building to share with us their experiences, how it is, how they have been able to manage the different conditions and situations that are happening day and night within the university. I think with that, I am glad once again to be here. Good afternoon. So we shall start with the Dean of Students, who will usher us into this great event today. Mr. Dean.
Yeah, thank you, Bridget, for the introductions. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is also my pleasure to participate in this workshop that is specifically looking at issues of students living with disabilities in universities in Western Uganda. And I am sure the issues of concern are not only for students in Western Uganda, but many of them seem to be global in nature, because disabilities and other special needs are not very specific to any given community the world over. Uganda is also a member and a signatory of the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability. So we take that guidance at a global level by the concerns of the United Nations General Assembly. We are also guided at national level by existing policies that are put in place by the government of Uganda. And above all, these policies highlight inclusiveness in education, inclusiveness in employment, among other areas where we have to be very sensitive and very inclusive to people who live with various forms of disability. So at a national level, we have national policies and guidelines. We have a ministry dedicated to guiding policy on disability in the country. And at institutional level, we also borrow a leaf from the guidance from the nation. We also have an institutional workplace policy on special needs that largely covers the interests of people living with various forms of disability, both students and staff. We are still a little bit challenged at institutional level in terms of physical infrastructure, because the university inherited a number of old structures which were constructed at a time when awareness of the rights and protections of people with various forms of disabilities were mainstreamed. But over the years, we have tried as much as we can to modify what can be modified, to make it easily accessible. And definitely, as a matter of policy, all new structures, all new infrastructure being developed must factor in the element of accessibility to people with disabilities. All the new structures that have been recently put in place, and even those to be built, will definitely have access to ramps. And those that go beyond a certain level are fitted with lifts. So the university is very sensitive about the need for inclusiveness. At institutional level, we have a policy which we are implementing, and the university has a focal person that enforces implementation of the special needs policy, and that has been the starting point. At the governance level, the University Council, which is the governing body of the university, has good representation of persons with disabilities. So institutionally, we are definitely very sensitive about the rights of everybody. I'm also glad that at the students' governance level, the Students' Guild within their constitution also have provisions for students with disabilities. The institution definitely still has a number of handicaps when it comes to inclusiveness in education. The university still hopes to put in place and fill the missing gaps, especially to make it convenient for the blind to access education at this university, because we definitely don't have sufficient capacity yet. We also still have definitely challenges with those who have hearing impairments. They may not necessarily have the best attention that is needed. We also may not have sufficient resources to acquire a helper for everybody that needs to be supported. But I'm very pleased that our community is very sensitive and supportive to members of the community with various forms of disability, that while we don't have sufficient capacity for employed helpers, we have volunteers who have pleasantly given support to the members in the community that may require that kind of support. And therefore today, it is very important that we emphasize mainstreaming of disability rights in whatever we do as an institution. We need to do mainstreaming in teaching, mainstreaming in planning, mainstreaming in all activities, that everybody who enjoys the inalienable human rights should be able to enjoy. And I hope in the future, we should be able to improve our compliance to the international charters and the national requirements to be able to have a university that is inclusive and able to support all learners, able to support all workers, able to support the visitors, so that we break that identity of people being identified by their various forms of disabilities. Once again, it's my pleasure to be a part of this workshop, and I hope and pray that the members physically present in this boardroom and those online will be able to enjoy and learn and have fruitful deliberations. Once again, I thank you for coming, I thank you for logging in, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
A round of applause for Mr. Emmanuel. Yes, he is our dear Dean of Students at Mbara University of Science and Technology. And when he speaks, we listen and take action. Okay, so it has been amazing. He has talked about inclusivity and mainstreaming in all sectors, planning, education, everything, that we have to do mainstreaming. And that is an initiative from us as a university. And to other universities that are watching us, especially those online, I know we have to take it home. And those who are around, you have to take it home so that we can be able to promote inclusivity in our daily works as an institution. So we are going to have a word from Madame Stella, who will introduce to us the next guest, that is Mr. Vincent Ngavirano, so that he can take us through another phase, which is preparing for the job market. Madame Stella.
Thank you very much, Bridget. You are most welcome, members here and those ones online. Thank you very much for honoring this day. Since it is the first one of its nature here we have ever had. The next speaker is Mr. Vincent Ngavirano from Tukore Invalid Salvation Stream. In fact, in these days they call it Tukore Inclusive Salvation Stream. He is going to take us through preparing yourselves for jobs, because after the campus you will need to work, but how will you be prepared? So you are most welcome.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Protocol dear observed. As you heard, I'm called Ngavirano Vincent. I work with an organization called Tukore Inclusion Salvation Stream Association. It is a long-lived organization that has been here for quite long, and it deals with persons with disabilities. In addition to that, I'm the chairperson of Mbara District Union of Persons with Disabilities, and at the same time, I'm a member of District Service Commission, Mbara. So I'm very humbled for having attended this kind of, having been invited to attend this kind of meeting, of which I believe it has been so important to persons with disabilities or to students who are getting out of campus. When you're at campus, especially when you are in the first year, the final year, you always have that utopian kind of thinking that maybe when you get out of university, you'll instantly get a job, you'll buy a car, you'll build a house, you'll marry, you'll do everything. But sometimes things may take a different direction. So in that event, you have to prepare and see how best you can look for a job. So I remember when I was at university, one of the professors told us that we are unlucky Ugandans, or being unlucky Ugandans, we have to prepare for that kind of situation. So when you are looking out for, when you graduate from university, you have to search for a job. So how do you search for a job? Nowadays, you are very lucky. Actually, much as he said that we are lucky, unlucky Ugandans, some other time we are very lucky because we have this.com ILA, whereby you have to, maybe you can search even jobs on internet. So you have to search for jobs. And I'd like to inform you that there is a job portal that has been developed by Federation of Uganda Employers that when you register on that very portal, it is called FUZU, FUZU. So when you register on that very portal, they will always give you jobs related to your academic qualifications. So you attach all your academic documents, then they will always give you adverts across the country. So every day. So that one can be the one way of searching for a job. And after having maybe identified the job that you qualify for, you have to make a cover letter. What's a cover letter? A cover letter is a document that describes an applicant that is attached to your academic documents. So nowadays, you are requested to satisfy your documents. So it's better you satisfy your documents before you even apply, because there are some people who apply without satisfied copies of their documents and are not shortlisted. So you better satisfy your documents, and you make a cover letter, and then you make also a resume. A resume is a summarized document by applicant that explains your work experience, your education levels, and the job you're applying for. Or you can simply call it a CV, but this one it is summarized. CV it is more detailed, but with a resume it is a summarized kind of document. That resume, it helps an applicant to express his or her level of education in his absence or her absence. Because the moment you apply, you are not there to explain to the employers that you qualified for such and such a job, for such and such a qualifications. So it's the document that now explains. So, and a resume, it is in summary form, and it is done every time you have to apply for a job. So don't make a resume or a CV once and for all. It is always in line with the job that you are going to apply for. If you are going to apply for maybe community development officer, or if you want to apply for any job that you have identified, you must read through the job description, and then you make a resume in accordance with the job description. That will help you to attract the panelists or the interviewers. Then after making a resume, you attach all your documents, and then you apply. So then you are shortlisted, because I've said that the resume helps you to be shortlisted because it talks in your absence. And then when you are shortlisted and you are invited for interviews, always be smart. Before you even apply, you need to search for that very organization that you are going to apply in. If it is Mbara University, you need to find out what does Mbara University do. Then you have to be well equipped with the knowledge of what Mbara University or any other organization or any other institution does. The moment you are aware of what the organization does, then it gives you a better ground to stand on. So on that very day of interview, you have to appear early enough to avoid stage fright. Because when you come late, then you start shivering, and then some of the answers will jump up to your head, and then you end up losing or maybe failing to answer. So like in a service commission, when you are going to interview someone, we always close the door. Then we let the applicant come in. So when you come in, we always put a seat in front, and then we let you come in, and then some applicants or job seekers, the moment he enters into the room, he simply sits, he crosses the legs, and then starts making some funny gestures, of which those ones detract the panelists. And at the end of it all, you find that maybe you are losing some marks, because there are some marks that you get as a result of how you handle yourself, as a personal judgment. They just look at you, the way you handle yourself, the way you have greeted the panelists, the way you have organized your papers, and then they give you some marks on account of your organization, or how you organize it. So don't sit before you are told to sit. So usually when you sit, they will ask you to talk about yourself. Always be brief. Don't over exaggerate. And maybe you talk a lot, they lose trust in, they lose interest in you, and then they end up giving you some more, few marks that would have gotten as a result of being short. Let them ask you in case they have not understood the point, or the point anyway, then they should probe you more to give them the details. So sometimes you go deep into the details, you start explaining, and in the end of it all, you get lost on the way. I remember one day we are just interviewing someone who I'm not going to mention, but is one of the employees of the government. So the guy was extremely verbal. He had a forest of words. He talked a lot. And the guy was very good because he lost that opportunity for 2 times. So this was his last time. But the guy talked a lot. He was outsourced from KCCA, but he was talking at all. Not until he was guided on how to answer, then he got the job. So you need to be brief but precise. You need to be precise and the point. So you need not talk a lot. So then after the interview, you need to thank the panelists, the people who are interviewing you. You have to thank them. Sometimes the panelists are very funny. They ask you some funny questions to probe or to provoke you. So the way you answer matters a lot. I remember one day I lost a job with Crane Bank when they asked me so many questions. I answered them correctly. I knew I was going to take on that job. At the end of it, the interview, they asked me, how much do you expect to get? I said 800. The lady was like, even the manager doesn't get that much. For you want it. Are you going to be a manager or what? Are you going to take on the manager's job position or what? So they told me that they will call me. Up to present time, they have never called me, and Crane Bank reached at a point of closing without even calling me. So my advice to young people, they always ask such a questions, that how much do you expect to get? So whether you talk less, whether you tell them less or more, it will not change the salary scale, because they have already a budget that they are going to use to pay you. So the best way to answer is tell them that I'm willing to work for any money that you will give me, because they have already a budget set. They cannot change. Whether you tell them 10 million, they will not give it to you. Whether you tell them 100, they will use the budget that I've already developed. So always don't be ambitious by mentioning a lot of money that may make you lose the job, the opportunity. So after getting a job, sometimes, especially when I'm referring to persons with disabilities, always behave well. When you are joining a government, they give you 6 months of probation, and within those 6 months, that's when they will confirm you in an appointment. And if you don't behave well during those 6 months, then they are more likely to terminate your appointment. So always work hard, always be at job place or at workplace in time in order to avoid the disappointments. So, and then after that, you are supposed to relate well with your fellow staff. There are some employers who have a feeling or thinking that persons with disabilities are not hardworking, but that is not true, because the research has shown that persons with disabilities are hardworking, and once they get a job, because of that inferiority complex that they may have, they tend to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they are hardworking and they strive for superiority. So they work so hard to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So you need to work very hard in order to banish that kind of thinking that persons with disabilities are lazy and they cannot afford. So we have always engaged so many employers, and we are telling them that persons with disabilities, they have an ample time to concentrate on their jobs or their work or assignments that are given. because if I can refer to maybe someone with the visual impairment, that kind of person does not have time to look around. Maybe someone is passing around, is putting on a miniskirt, so you are attracted and you spend a lot of time looking at someone, but you don't have that vision. So the best way to go is to concentrate on your assignments and make sure that those assignments are done within prescribed time. So that's an advantage that persons with disabilities have over a comparative advantage that persons with disabilities have over other persons. So as Uganda, we developed a Disability Act. When we look at the Disability Act, section 9, it talks about employment and non-discrimination. So we are engaging public service that every time they advertise, they should put a clause in that advert that persons with disabilities are encouraged to apply. Because we have seen so many situations where persons with disabilities graduate and they spend like 5 years on the street. And when you ask them that have you ever applied for a job, they say, no, me, I have never applied because I know they cannot give me a job. Why? They have that kind of negative or low self-esteem. So in order to avoid that low self-esteem, we are encouraging employers always put that clause. And in case the advert is out without that clause, you are at liberty to sue that organization because they're discriminative. So the employers are encouraged always to put that very clause. And we are telling the employers that sometimes employers look at persons with disabilities as an extra cost. That maybe if I employ someone who is a wheelchair user, I'm going to incur another cost of employing a helper. But it doesn't necessitate to employ another person. So long as he's oriented and he knows where to, is given the reasonable accommodation, maybe a wheelchair, or is a person with a vision impairment, is given like JAWS to use in a computer, then there is no need of employing another person to help that very person. You can access and the office is accessible. You can use that as an advantage. I mean, you can access the office very well without necessarily getting a helper. So employers have failed to employ persons with disabilities on account that they are going to incur another cost of employing another person to help. But if those people are well facilitated, what we call reasonable accommodation, then they don't need an extra cost to. Then there is another section or subsection, that very section, which talks about the tax exemption. That once you are an employer and you employ persons with disabilities, you are given tax exemption on the chargeable income in order to encourage more employers to employ persons with disabilities. And most employers have missed out some opportunities because you find that maybe the persons with disabilities are getting a salary like of 2 million and you are given a tax exemption of 20 or 10 million, then that's a business. So employing persons with disabilities can be an opportunity in one or another. So we're encouraging the employers always take advantage of persons with disabilities by employing them. But when we propose that kind of arrangement to exempt some employers, some tax or to waive off some tax, some employers were very much wise. They employed persons with disabilities, like 10 of them, and they were given lower cadre positions like cleaners, in order to avoid, in order to get that tax waive. So we're encouraged. That's why they are saying now the act is saying that they can give you 1 to 10% depending on the positions that those people are doing. They are employed on, and then depending on the number of persons with disabilities that you have employed. So that's all I can talk about the employment and how best you can apply for a job. So we encourage persons with disabilities always to be vigilant and on lookout so that they can don't be shy. Don't shy out that maybe they cannot give you a job because you are a person with disabilities. We are trying to sensitize the masses and the public that person with disabilities are also like any other human being. They are not different from others, and they are not from heaven. They are just our brothers and our sisters. They are our aunties and uncles. So let them also be employed like another person, and they also earn a living. So maybe that's what I can talk about the employment in general.
A round of applause for Mr. Gavirano Vincent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was a very powerful speech, by the way. To those that are soon finishing university, to the university students, those online and those ones that are here physically, that is a very big package for everyone to know that after school, what exactly am I supposed to do? Let not your disability be your inability. You can. And because you can, you will. I don't know whether most of us listen to classical music. Is there anyone who does that? Anyone who knows Beethoven, Ludwig van Beethoven? Anyone who knows him? So when I was studying, during my high school, I did music. So during our music classes, they used to tell us about this great personality. And little did we know that this guy had some hearing impairments. But then we kept in love with the music because every music that we used to do in the music room used to be his music. You study him, you do papers about him, just like the history that some of us did. But then later on, when I knew that this guy, he could do everything, he was the greatest composer of the time. He was a pianist, he was a great man, and yet he couldn't even hear. So we kept wondering later when we got to know how did he do it. But I just believe he knew that he could, and because he could, he did it. So we are having people joining us online, and we also welcome you. For those who just joined when we had already started, like my sister here, you're welcome. We shall be having Mr. Ambrose to talk to us. I think Henry will help us. We shall be having him talk to us on Zoom so that he can also take us through another session. Yes? Mr. Ambrose Moranjida, you can unmute and then you talk to us.
You hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me first share my slide. Can you people see my slide? Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, all of us, as administrators and all people who are online. My name is Ambrose Langira. I am a council member. And also, I am a thematic director on inclusion and stability. I want to talk about disability inclusion in higher institutions of learning. That's my presentation today. That's what students asked me to present. They were asking me to answer one question on how to make institutions on higher institutions of higher learning inclusive. How can we make these institutions inclusive? So So I have answers to solve this question because inclusion is very complex. It's a complex concept. So what we have to think about, what we have to put in mind are four things. First of all, when you're designing a disability inclusive program, you have to put this in mind. And also too, running an inclusive or recruitment process is also important. It's also important to provide an inclusive learning environment for students. And also prepare a transition to the world of work. So, when you're talking about disability inclusion in high institutions of learning, it's all about talking to students with disability the time they enter university and to the time when these students get jobs. That process, it's a process. But for my presentation today, it's going to be brief because it's 15 minutes. I just want to focus on one area, that is how to provide an inclusive learning environment. When we talk about inclusive learning environment, I am looking at like 8 things. Those are the key areas that I'm focusing on. First of all, how are the inclusive orientation programs? How do we make this happen? I will brief you that after. And secondly, the reasonable accommodation accessibility. That one, what does it mean? We shall also talk about that. I'll give you some of the things that you should think about later. And another area is disability inclusion awareness. Do we have inclusive disability awareness training in our campuses? The fourth thing is inclusion disability. Inclusion disability support center. We also have that. So number 5 is, we would also like to talk about social inclusion. Let me hope you're following. There is the internet table.
Yes, please, you're clear.
Okay, thank you. And also number 6, we look at internship places. Then we come to employment, employability and skill training, employability and skills training. Then lastly, I will talk about work placements. So I will focus on 8 areas where we can evaluate ourselves as universities or institutions of higher learning. Those are the 8 areas we can focus on, which contributes to an inclusive learning environment. So first, an inclusive orientation program. As you all know, that every year we open up orientation programs. Some universities have 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do that orientation program. But in our area, we just have three key questions that we must keep in mind. First, as part of orientation program, have scholars with disabilities been introduced to their support structures within the scholars program and the wider institution? For example, the dean's office. Do they even know where the dean's office is? If in case they are sick, where should they go? Do they know where they're supposed to go? The facilities, are they accessible for persons with disability? Those are the things that they should know in the orientation program. Make it general. Orientation is general, but they forget to talk about the support services for persons with disability, for students with disability. For example, deaf people like me, if students come, how can they communicate if they don't have interpreters? Personal assistance for those ones that are physically having impairment. How do they access buildings? They need to be oriented. And secondly, has mobility training been conducted for scholars with physical and visual impairment? Mobility is really important for our living. Someone is having a visual impairment or a physical impairment, how can they access lessons if the washrooms are not accessible? Sometimes you find that lecturers are on the maybe 8th floor, 3rd floor, there are no ramps for them to access such buildings. So we think about on how to adjust such structures. Maybe they come an hour before and they want to reach earlier in the lecture because of the nature of the structure. And when they are stuck, by the time maybe they try to enter the lecture room because of the process, they are late. So a third question that I have scholars with disabilities been introduced and trained on using the assistive technology and devices available? You find that some students come and you have devices at campus that they've never used, they have never seen them. For example, we think when we look at students with visual impairment, they use braille. When you reach university, you give them braille development, some of them even don't know how to use braille. You find that the students some of them don't even know how to sign. They don't know how to sign. Sorry, because of time I'm going to go through this very fast. Secondly, the second aspect. We need to make an inclusive learning environment. It's about reasonable accommodation accessibility. When we talk about reasonable accommodation, we don't think about living or hotels. No, reasonable accommodation is not about that. The concept of RA is from the RPD, Convention on the Persons with Disability. It's about adjustment to make lives of persons with disability easy and accessible to get services, what they want. So in the area of that reasonable accommodation, I have 5 questions. Because of time, I will not go in depth of it, reading everything, but maybe after you can contact me, share emails, and then let me just read through. The first question, Have the accessibility and reasonable accommodation needs of scholars with disability been assessed? If I come, you see me as a deaf person, don't think that don't assume that I don't sign language. No. First, assess me. Secondly, sign language interpretation services are available for scholars with hearing impairment. Third, personal assistance services available for scholars if and as needed. Four, we have is the physical environment of institutions, including campuses and student residents, fully accessible? Five, in case of inaccessible areas, are the accommodations in place to enable scholars, especially those with physical and visual impairment, to access these areas? So those are the 5 key questions that you can think about. Next slide. These questions of reasonable accommodation contain 6. You find that is there a possibility for students with different types of impairments to request for additional support when needed? Then 7, if the reasonable accommodation needs cannot be adequately met by resources or budget and services available, is a plan in place to explore alternative options? We have a plan to explore these options. Do students with different types of impairment get additional time for exams where this is thought appropriate? Number 9, we find that have examiners been sensitized on disability inclusion needs and requirements when examining or assessing students with disability or with different impairments? Because of time, sorry, I have to run. I just want to manage time well. This is disability support accessibility training, the 3rd key that we have to think about. First, the first question that we have we have disability awareness training. That is number 3 that we have to think about. Sorry, no, this group is for just other people really know about these disability issues. We have to have representatives. For example, for me at Makerere University, when I was studying my bachelor's, I contested for GRC to represent Michelle, represent Michelle Hall. To represent, I was not standing to represent. I was standing to show that I can, and I won that position. And they appointed him as a minister of external affairs. So what does it mean? Don't say that, no, this one is for students with disabilities, so we should have a special rule for students with disabilities. Okay, 6. I'm sorry, yeah, I'm soon finishing. It's about internship. I only have three quick questions about this. First question, are scholars with disabilities supported to find internships and other training opportunities in line with their career interests and ambitions? Second question, are the host companies or organizations for internship sensitized on the inclusion needs of scholars with disabilities placed with them? The third question, are scholars with disability provided with reasonable accommodation during their internships and field work, including academic research? My 17 skills training. Are scholars with disability trained on employmentability skills like networking, CV writing, interview skills, and basic ICT literacy? Special concerns and considerations covered in these trainings? Maybe at university you can have a general program and design out programs. But we forget needs of students with disability. For example, interviews for a person with disability is really different from any other person without a disability. Me, I can come, then I need an interpreter. Or someone is having a wheelchair, they need a PA. No. Now, if I come in and then I don't have these services, it's really tricky. You have to put it in mind. Career affairs regularly organized. Are disability-specific concerns and considerations covered in these affairs? This is my last area. It's about work placements. I only have one question for us. Have links to inclusive employment initiatives been made to connect graduate scholars with disabilities to employment or entrepreneurship opportunities? Why? Because we are going to school and then in our mind, we want to get jobs. We want to be self-employed or waged. So universities should help us and to link us to those areas and sensitize them. Those are the key areas. And finally, any question? Do we have any questions about this?
So much for that great presentation. A round of applause for Mr. Ambrose Murangira. This is a global disability rights advocate. I think that even the clubs that we've really given him are not enough. Let's give him more flowers. Yes, flowers. Okay, and I know for us who have questions, just keep them until we are, I think he will be still online. He will be with us until we have the last speaker, then we can have some questions for him. So if you have questions, just jot them down and we shall be able to ask him and he elaborates more about what you really want to understand. So we still have one more. We still have one more presenter, one more speaker, that is Dr. Ntaro Moses. And he is the one to talk to us right about now. Hopefully he is online. He is with us already. Yes, please, Doctor.
See you moderating. Sorry that this online. Thank you for being part of this wonderful conference, the first of its kind. My name, as already been mentioned, Carol is my name. I'm teaching at Mbara University in the Department of Community Health. Actually, currently, I'm the acting. I'll go straight to one, why I take this to be very important and an opportunity that I had really to make sure I put time to talk to this body and fraternity of persons with a disability and all who are supporting this fraternity. Is I was really a beneficiary of this, and I felt it had a big contribution towards my life, my journey so far, because I benefited at the University of Makerere to be supported by this, which I never knew about. And somebody was just kind to me to tell me, oh, we see you have a visual impairment because of the one of my eye that got injured and cannot function anymore. So from that, I was able to apply and be admitted in the university and supported, which I think those who have been before us and have been working towards that. Recently, I learned that actually at Mass, we also have almost 70 students being supported under that scheme, which is a wonderful thing. And the challenge, how I challenge others, see how do we disseminate this to many who may not be aware about it, like I was not aware about it. So such of our associations and forums should have such platforms to do that. Really, my contribution, my topic is really to build on what has already been said, and that's why I think my presentation is a very short one. I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation because I knew the situation I'm in, that the PowerPoint presentation will not be a feasible thing. So just to contribute on what our first speaker said, our second speaker said, there were just a few skills that I was sharing from my experience and that I pass on to persons with disability, especially also benefit from the competition out there. So I just had, it's the same word, but I will say it through to your study. Sometimes the jobs are not there out there waiting for anybody. They are few. However, there is what I say, seek volunteer opportunity. I said it three, I'm saying it 3 times. Seek volunteer opportunities, seek volunteer opportunities, and the third time, seek volunteer opportunities. Why is that sometimes when you come looking for a job, it's difficult. People easily say there's no job. But when you come saying, I'm seeking to volunteer, I have these skills, but I want to volunteer my time to contribute to this organization. And sometimes somebody says, okay, I'm saying it because I've given a number of people volunteer opportunities in the projects that I coordinate, that I work with. And then from there, I've seen them grow into opportunities and they have become coordinators and they have started their career. So that is some practical aspect. I want to use the word seek to share a few principles of how you can, seek opportunities of work when you complete your studies. And if you can write, anybody who has where to write and write that word seek, just vertically, because I'll put a word, I'll mention a word per letter. So of course, the first letter is S. Have an inner believe in yourself and believe that with God will help me. I will get something even in this very competitive world where opportunities for work are not there. And even in my condition where there's some sort of disability on me. So believe, be self-motivated. Of course, the other letter which follows is E. Entertain no lazy spirit or idleness or self-pity. Don't entertain those in your life, in your heart. Especially young people, there has been a trend of idleness and being taken up with a number of other things which are not productive, do not contribute actually to your progress. So you you don't entertain those. The other one, another which is E from the word seek, is endeavor to build meaningful networks. My predecessor, the one who had just spoken, has hinted on it, Ambrose. Don't endeavor to where you want to reach. There is somebody who knows those people, who knows that person. Ask them, can you connect me to this person? Can you introduce me to this person? Build meaningful networks. The last one, which is K, keep trying, keep the momentum, keep improving yourself. Of course, our degree is not enough and the qualification getting is not enough. Keep improving yourself. Keep learning. They go together. Keep engaged with online opportunities. There are so many opportunities online, and especially in this generation, build yourself the capacity in that area where even you can get a job and keep working wherever you are, working at home. You don't need even to go to to a workplace. So with those few remarks, I now have saved time for questions which will be upcoming. And I want to thank you for listening. And I'm hoping that we continue the good conference.
So much, Dr. Antaro Moses, for imparting your knowledge onto us and reminding us to seek. That's amazing. And I know it has been a time of learning. Hopefully we are noting down for those with questions. Are we together? Yes, so at this time, let us give him a round of applause. Yes, so, okay. So they were our main, it was time for the main guests. And it happens that even the network has done us well. We've been able to listen to all of them clearly, and we are taking their points home. So we are going to have our last presenter, that is our own Nariama James. And he will be taking us into the last session, which is Must PWDs Association. He will be taking us through his own experience at Must as a student first, then also take us through the association for the Must PWDs. James.
Thank you very much. I say good afternoon, everyone. My name is Napiama James, serving as a GRC and at the same time Minister of WDs at Mbara University of Science and Technology. I'm glad to be able to start to present before you, and I want to start by thanking responded to my call. It really shows a spirit of togetherness for a struggle to uplift the voice for persons living with disabilities in the nation. I've been assigned, actually, it is my role to talk about two things. One, life at campus. Two, the Association of Mbara University of Science and Technology, PWD. First and foremost, allow me start by talking about life at campus. Specifically, I would consider it to be in the UDs. One, life at campus for a person living with disability to also have a chance to reach and acquire the goal why they join campus should be backed by this. One, accessibility. Life at campus is good for everyone who is a disability. If there is accessibility, we can talk about the ramp, access to lecture room, access to lecturers, access to the library. Life at campus will always be good. I can bring in a factor of accommodation. Accommodation starts from the point where that person is going to come from. If a person living with disability, let's say physical, locomotor, is living far away from campus, there are some challenges faced. To start with, that person is most likely to miss out lectures. In the case it rains, in the case that person delays to turn up for lunch and coming back, that person will always face that problem. Accommodation can come in another way, that you have to assess. You have to assess the students and know their needs. Accommodation can also be looking at the extra time during examination time. Look at the speed at which someone writes. We are able to do everything in this world, but we do them differently. That's why we call ourselves differently abled, but we are not disabled. I can talk about culture. I can use this very opportunity to thank MAST. It's too welcoming for us and is always caring for us. Based on the Office of the Dean of Students, we are so glad you have always considered us, and we believe through your consideration we shall be able to achieve our academic goals. Then I can also give this student life at campus. Having known the resources, because when you reach at campus, you're not going to sit, but live a life of inquiry. You inquire and ask. After asking, take advantage of these resources to make most of your campus experience. What do I say? Having known that there's a library, it is accessible. Having known that the lectures are accessible. Having known that even lecturers are approachable, then you have to learn how to communicate. Share with friends. If you have an impairment, please don't be rude to your members around you. We are people who need special care. That's why we are called special needs category. There is that special need you need. Without it, please, the environment is too harsh for you. Without it, the environment will be too harsh for me. On that, I would say it is always important to do research, communicate with others, and utilize resources to ensure that your campus experience is as positive and successful as possible. That is all I can say about campus life. Tuning to the association. Last year, around November, we saw a need to raise our voice. Despite the fact that we are few in number, but we followed the slogan that says, together we stand, and divided we fall. So we decided to form an association called Mbarara University of Science and Technology, PWDs Association. This association has a magnitude or a multitude of activities. One, it is aimed at promoting the well-being of the students living with disabilities at the university. Two, we are aiming at fostering and making an environment that we can be able to support our fellow students living with disability and they are facing hardships that can hinder them to achieve the academic goals while in Mbarara University of Science and Technology. On the anti-desire, we have in the work plan, actually in our aims, that we need to raise funds through subscription, setting up self-generating incomes, looking for sponsors, actually for funders, those people who are well-wishers. This association calls for members who are physically, mentally, those ones with, we have like asthmatic, sickle cell. If you have anything that can make the environment not good for you, like a normal person, then we also welcome well-wishers into our association. It is not a selfish association, but we welcome all members because we always think to be guided. And we think sometimes knowledge can be found from anywhere. The primary goal of an association is to ensure that students with disabilities have access to same opportunities as everyone else in order to achieve academic goals. Another important function of the association is to provide support and resources to individuals with disabilities. And this may be in the form of counseling, support groups, information on disability-related issues. It also provides education and training to help individuals with disabilities develop skills they need to live independently and participate fully in their communities. The association shall also act as a voice for the disability community of MAST and outside the university. We shall use the association in conjunction with the Office of the Dean to advocate for the policy that promotes inclusion and accessibility in the university. It will work to influence university, government policies and programs to ensure that students with disability are fully included in all aspects. The association intends to set up a self-generating source of income and as a way of solving the issue of inadequate funds to run the activities. Remember, the association has goals. We can call them objectives or aims. But there is one factor always faced, although the association is new, is lack of funds. You may feel do anything better. We are always having a work plan in line with the Dean of Students' Office for the activities concerning the PWDs at MAST. But we have a challenge of shortage of funds. On that, through the association, we are decided to write proposals concerning activities to different well-wishers. We're starting from the university itself. We may have some administrators who are well-wishers, to outside the university, to the nation, even to international levels, in order to set up a very strong pillar for the fund, for the association, that in case we happen to leave the university, we should not go with the association, but leave it standing to support our sisters and brothers who will join us in time, with time. So that is our struggle based on the aims. We have achievements so far as an association. Oh, I can openly tell you that it is a registered one. So it is a legal association. We only call upon members to come. If you have a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend to join Mbora University of Science and Technology PWD Association. I've told you, it is not a selfish association. Anybody can join it. Through advocate and publicity, at least we now have above 20 members in the association. It is not easy. It is not easy. Because checking on the list, all those ones who were registered, I think they are all finalists and have gone. And we have a challenge of stigma. Somebody can never be, we never wish like being classified. But when it comes to a challenge, that very person will come, they indirectly private to you, presenting a matter that this is the problem which I'm facing. But when tell that person to register, I will tell you, no, I can't. So this is another point. If you really need some help, please always make it aware. If you shout, people will hear and come and ask, why? Why are you shouting? After you telling the people why you are shouting, one of the members asking you will always tell you, what if you did this? That means now the solutions have started to come up. If the solution now start to come up, you are getting a solution and you always be solved. You'll be saved and you have another step. So now this one cannot be, I'm not meaning you can shout, but now we have an association. If we know here, because in our association, at the beginning of every academic year, we distribute forms. You feel, there's a part where you feel how the university should help you. What are the challenges? And how do you feel like being handled in order to achieve your academic goal while at must for the time expected of you? We have members who have tried to do subscription. Actually, I extend my sincere appreciation to all members who have subscribed. It really shows a spirit of solidarity, that one step leads to another. Even those ones who goes to Kampala, they begin by one step. I believe by one time, we shall be somewhere. We have also organized some meetings successfully, educate, and sometimes to do some assessment of how other members are living. We share some challenges. And through that, we always get to understand each other. Right now, we have a special ministry at the guild. When I joined MAST and I entered the guild, I found PWDs being under the Minister of Health. I kept quiet until when the regime was ending, and I was told I was among the committee members. But on all activities, I didn't present any matter. Neither did I participate in any meeting concerning the activities. I decided to raise up and run a motion, which I can happily say it was positive, that we now have a minister for PWDs at MAST in Students Guild, being represented by me, myself, Nabiama James. I stood on the factor that even if I cry here, my neighbor will never fail to sleep. What do I mean? The Minister for Health sometimes could not understand why and how a PWD member can be helped. We would be left out. Right now, at least we struggle for our rights in the right order. You talk as a minister of PWDs, not under the Minister of Health. we have, despite the actual having achievements, does not stop challenges. One, limited funds, I've said. The association is vibrant because of the active members, but pocket-wise, it is alarming. Stigmatism among the members. This one has caused a lot of problem. I started making calls some 3 days back, and everybody was like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. Until when it reached 2 and everybody was saying, a text, I'm not coming. I'm just having lunch. I have a test. I'm going for a lecture. I'm just going to Nana Block to and I'm going to town. That means somebody just wished to register, but does not need to associate. Then how will you learn and defend yourself if you cannot will to learn your rights? It is through these workshops that enable you know that you have a right. Did you know that every company, every employer has to give out an advertisement, including the PWDs? Did you know?
Honorable Minister, you have 2 minutes.
Sorry. My humble appeal, it is on this note that I appeal to the concerned officers, well-wishers, group members to stand up and set a strong support pillar for the future brothers who will come, time to come. We call members to join either disabled or not. What am I called? We welcome all members. Please pay subscription fees if we are to benefit from this. Extend a hand of help through emotional, financial, and mental services. We have implementation of the budget in time because we have a worker plan both in the Dean's office and the minister itself now. But the minister now works under the supervision of the Dean of Students. So we call upon the worker plan always to be implemented or be guided on how it can be run such that all activities can be fulfilled in a way, or as one of the ways to do what we call publicity, advocacy, and campaign for the rights of persons living with disabilities. Motivation of the members through giving award of encouragements, awards, counseling to maintain, to mention but a few. In conclusion, MUST PWDs Association is a virtual organization that serves as a lifeline for many students with disabilities. It provides social support and advocacy for a community that has been traditionally marginalized and excluded. We should all support this organization's efforts to promote inclusion, accessibility, and equality for all people with disabilities. With all that, I end by saying disability is a mindset, and I use this very opportunity to thank every members for responding for the call. And I still request in any time, in any case I pass the communication, still I request you avail yourself for the betterment of our Uganda in the line with PWDs. Thank you very much.
All right, a very big clap. Thank you so much, Honorable, for that great speech. I think we really need support because I cannot exclude myself. We are talking about inclusivity. So we need support as as the association, and I know that Madame Stella is going to take that so serious. Yes, he is the focal person, and even to the people that are listening to, that have been listening to us, I know the points were very clear. What is needed is support. To our dear Dean, Mr. Emmanuel Chagava, all the points are laid to your table, sir, and I know that they will be put clearly. So now we are going to have experiences, some experiences from the dear students that are within this building. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay. It's so unfortunate that you phoned when most of the speakers had already spoken much, but you're welcome. So we are going to have the students sharing their experiences within MUST or anywhere. It can be any university, because I did not ask you your universities, unfortunately, but I believe that the people in the building are from one university, so you can feel free to share your experiences. Okay. The minister says he wants to introduce the students within the building.
I'm sorry. I failed to introduce my visitors from outside the universities. We have some members from BSU. We have MOBS. I would request.
At least a hand clap when they mention the university. At least we can give a hand clap. And also, you can stand up for recognition. Yes, the visitors from Bishop Stewart, you can stand for recognition.
Visitors from BSU. Mr. Brian, we are recognizing visitors from BSU to raise up their hand stand. We have visitors from MOBS, Barara. We are very glad that they have responded to our call. We never expected, because it was too brief. We started making calls 2 days back. But for the love they have with us and the friendship, they really gave a positive response. I'm really happy for you coming, and I really say, may God reward you abundantly. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable James. It's now time to share our experiences as students. How has it been living with disability and being differently able? How has it been? And have you found any challenges? Or how do you think it should be, or it should have been? Can I start with you?
Good evening. I'm Muhindo Edith. Okay, this universe I think is not so conducive. Like the lectures, you see, like for me, I'm doing pharmacy. So we started from the hospital, we moved from the hospital, we moved up this faculty science. Then we move from there, you cross the road to there, and you see like the whole thing is stressful. And like giving retakes, they don't even have mass on you. That is the main challenge.
Those are some of the points to be noted, especially by our focal person and the people responsible. Any other person?
Good evening. I'm called Halima Kasoga from the Faculty of Interdisciplinary Studies. I'm in my fourth year, actually my final year. For me, my experience ever since I got hearing impairment, I was in P3 and it was really hard for me to push up to here because most of the time I miss a lot from lecturers, my friends, more so from friends. Because even up to now, I have few friends and they always complain when they are talking to me. I miss a lot. So you keep on telling them, beg your pardon. And some people see it as something annoying and I end up missing a lot from them. And now another challenge I have been facing is I have to make sure I go to class very early because when I go late, I don't find a front seat. And it's really hard for me to pick from behind. But though with all the hardship, I've managed to push.
Thank you so much, Halima, for sharing your story. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Bridget. Thank you very much, our speakers. Thank you, the broadcasters. Thank you, everyone. My name is Kawaya Abdallah. I'm a student at MUST. I'm doing bachelor's in nursing science, and I'm also a former student at Broadway High School. I moved with my school. Okay, now the problem that I have, let me start with, okay, I was born like this. That's self-explanatory. So one of the problems that I have faced personally is name calling. And the other thing is I've not had a lot of facilities to help me, for example, with sunscreens and goggles. So I've faced a lot of challenges in class, especially with visualization, vision, and maybe when you're doing field trips, when you're walking to school, there's a lot of sunshine and stuff. But I have 3 points that I want to talk about that have made me to reach where I am right now, because I'm not so, I don't complain about a lot of things. I am contented about who I am and I am really comfortable. One is optimism. Optimism is looking at the brighter side of things. You as a person who is able differently, do you look at yourself as someone who does not, okay, do you look at yourself as someone who is disabled, or you look at yourself as someone who is able differently? We all have things that we cannot do that other people out there can do. But trust me, those people out there cannot do it all. So what should we do? We should believe in ourselves that we can do things that other people cannot do. Just like we can't do some of the things that they can do, we can do other things that they can't do. Now, this is practical. How? Make sure that you acquire as many skills as you can. Are they language proficiencies, ICT skills, social media skills? A lot of things that you acquire, make sure that you do, because other people can't, or other people do not. So optimism is one thing. Look at yourself, look at the brighter side, look at the good things that you've achieved in your life because of your condition. Now, personally, I've studied for free. That is an achievement. It is not like a sympathy vote or something, but I've studied for free because I have fronted my academic performance, and that has, I am, okay, I'm not, I'm not academically down. I'm academic, I'm a bright student, so I've studied for free, and that is very good. Many people here have gotten food for free. Many people have, we've really had a lot of achievements, but we do not complain about the other things. We'll be appreciative of this. That is optimism. Now, this is very important to note. Optimism should not mask self-awareness. You must know what you cannot do. You must know that, the sunshine is too much. However much, yes, I can. I cannot walk in the sunshine without sunscreen. This is a riot. However much I believe I can, I will not go to a riot with a wheelchair. Something might happen to me, you get. So self-awareness is also key. That is one. My second point is effective communication. Many of the things we do not get at the university or in these institutions is because we do not communicate well. If you've come to a lecture, maybe late, you've come late to a lecture, try hard to communicate with the class president before and tell the class president, can you book for me a seat at the front? Or you can tell the lecturer, sir, I have not understood, repeat for me. Sir, I will not be able to attend to the lectures in time. Do this because these lecturers have email addresses. So use your effective communication skills because most of us are doing interpersonal courses. So we get training for that. Use effective communication to your best. That is our tool. Then my last point is good behavior. Now for this I have a proverb. It is an English proverb. I don't know whether I can whether I'm going to articulate it right. It says, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. What does that mean? We as persons living with special needs or with who are able differently should make sure that we are at our best behavior. Because those people out there, some of them are really evil. They can do things to you, but they just control themselves because they see you are not, how can I say, you are somehow disadvantaged. So they treat you with kindness. So please reciprocate that kindness. Do not be rude because you have special privileges. Do not be rude because what? Always be at your best behavior because you as a person living with disabilities is very prone. You are very prone to being misbehaved with by these other people. Otherwise, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, my brother, for sharing. That was amazing. That was great. And
sorry, good evening. My name is Betty Chogabirwe. I'm sorry I came in a bit late. I had another meeting, but I tried to see that I came here at least with a little time, but I'm very happy to see that I'm here. I want to thank MAST for this organization, for calling us and for forming a disability group. Of course, disability is wide. It includes a lot of people. So thank you, Minister James, for this kind of innovation. I want to share my experience. I have had so many because I have had a lot of, especially during lectures in BSU. Of course, we have so many needs. The blind have their own needs, but this time let me talk about myself. Because as a disability, I only encourage us to coordinate and we become strong. So when I was learning in school, I became deaf, of course, when I was a bit old. I was 12 years. But majorly, I have found one of the major challenges is attitude. Most people, when they see you cannot speak, they are like, how are we going to teach you? How are you going to teach you? So most people have that negative attitude. For example, inclusion in universities is also very hard. And some universities don't understand that we need special care. They fail to understand. When you go there, sometimes they think you're lying. You try to explain, there is nothing they can give you to solve your own challenge. So when I was at BSc, I could only read through friends, but I could not get anything. It was until when I was working with Light for the World and we were trying to advocate for disability inclusion, and many people in the community truly don't know what we are going through. So it means we are missing a lot, including schools. So, she's talking about also the university buildings, building stairs without ramps, so accessibility normally becomes a problem. Mm. So she's talking about accessibility and reasonable accommodation. As a deaf person, she needed an interpreter, but there was no interpretation. So communication was a very big challenge to her during her studies, right from primary up to the university. Yeah, because they fear the employing interpreter, because they think if you go there and then you bring in an interpreter, then that's another charge for the interpreter. So things are really not good, and the problem, there is a big problem there. Mm. So maybe let me end from there. I thank you so much.
Thank you. I thank you so much for that engagement, because actually I was just staring, but then it is so amazing the way you were communicating and coordinating. That is what she wanted from the start, that wasn't provided. So if at all these issues are put into consideration, I think we shall have the inclusivity put to action. Any other student who wants to share? Your name, your university.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Humza Ivan. I do study from MOOBS, Mbala campus. I thank you all for inviting us. God bless you. As a student, have passed through challenges. I got an accident in 2005. So when I was falling, I fell on my back. So it hampered with the spine and back. So co-curricular activities I could do at paralyzed from legs just here then to down, and then so I used to pass or excel in class. As time moved on, as I grew up, the pain is also increased. So as I reached in senior 5, that was 2015, everything was down, but had to, as your slogan was, keep moving. I decided to keep moving, and I scored marks that put me to university. I joined BSU on Bachelor's of Law, but I just finished one semester. I went back for second semester, but I failed. Just I could not sit in class for long. I could not read, and then things stay in the mind. It's caused the back, things is connected with the medulla there, and then you find you can't grasp something for a moment. So as time went on, I went for medication to Mlago, and they told me I can stay home and rest. And I was like, how will I survive as a young man? So I said, at least we can do something. I go for studies. Then we advocated for change, of course. I went to Kabale, UCC. I studied diploma in procurement and logistics management. Yeah, that's how. But as I was there, I could be reading, go for classes. As you're doing exams, then you paralyze, and then you fail to continue with study writing. Then you have to first wait, and then the body settles. But as time moved on, like after 40 minutes, then the body comes back, you resume, and then start writing. So that was a challenge. So I approached the administration. They could may add some time during examinations. They could bring me a seat that is favorable. So after a diploma in 2020, then I did my internship at Mbala City Council. Yeah, so I'm there. It's where I'm still volunteering and in the procurement department. And I saw it necessary to go back for bachelor's. Now I went to MOOBS. Then on reaching at MOOBS, you know, because the steps going up, it is also a challenge. But when I talked to Madam Annette, they were like, we'll see how to organize you. You know, sitting in class for long, all that stuff. There's the word gives hard time. So I was like, when someone called me, you're among disability, I was like, so that's why they said of stigma thingy. it attacks me seriously. I don't say I'm disabled, but I thank you for you included me here. May the good Lord bless you. Hope we, once we come together, think we can do our best.
Right. Thank you so much. That's another great story of never to sit just down and assume that you are unable, but you had a vision to carry on. Any other? Okay.
Thank you so much, the Dean of Students, Mr. Chagawa, Mami Stella, and everyone present. Good afternoon. My name is Kaija Dennis. I'm a student here in Imbara University, doing a course in medicine and surgery, and I'm in my final year. Mine is just very, very brief. I just want to thank the administration of Imbara University, especially the Dean of Students Office, through, of course, Mami Stella, for the will they have shown in helping people with disabilities. Because they say that where there is a will, there is a way. And I believe that as long as that will continues, there will be a way for all students with persons with disabilities, and they'll have nothing else to complain about. So that's what I'm thanking them for. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Any other person to share their experiences? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Noasim Oliviers, a Minister of Students with Disabilities at MOBS. The experience, I got a challenge when I was in nursery baby. It's when my leg got a problem. I hear that I was bewitched. So I lost my leg, but it is there. Part of it is there. So the best challenge and a good challenge is that they nicknamed me. But after all, I have my sister. She's good at encouraging me that you can make it. So in that, I said I can. I started primary, I finished it. I went to Kampala for Kosu Rehabilitation Center, and they did some surgery. I got surgery. Then it's how now I can walk somewhere well. I really thank that center. So after that, I had to continue with my studies. I was still in senior 2, so I had to continue. Then I finished my senior 4 and I joined A-level. And I did my A-level, but the challenge was that you have to pay for your own school fees, everything. Oh, it was tough. The challenge at university is that you have to pay for your own tuition. And this thing of retake, they don't know that you are disabled or anything else. You have to read hard and pass. If you don't pass, you have to take your retake. So I really appreciate for calling us here. I'm really humbled. Thank you.
Okay. So a round of applause to all the speakers of the day. Okay, that is so good. I know that everyone who wanted to share, you've shared and you've exhausted all that you wanted to tell the rest, that you wanted to tell us. Okay, anyone else? You have something to share? And for those who have questions for Mr. Ambrose, please, you can go on, but you'll write them, then we hand them over to Madame Stella. He will answer them later as he's also giving the slides. He's not able to respond to them right about now because he has another meeting that he has gotten engaged to.
Thank you very much. My first question is from the producer. Don't we have some comments from the people online? Do we? Is it possible that we read is there any possibility of zooming them? Let me first request the moderator to first of all read the comments from online before I can proceed.
As my boss says, I will read the comments. Samuel Semakabanya. Sorry for that. Samuel says, I'm also requesting for the slides. And I think he was talking to Mr. Ambrose. Then he says, good presentation. Ambrose says, Mr. Ambrose Marangira says, feel free to type here your questions for me to answer. And Kenneth says, there is no sign language interpretation for online audience, which Madam Stella has already answered. I asked her as well, and she gave me a response. Since there was no one in here who had a hearing impairment, so she defended herself anyway. But now it is clear. Then Ambrose Morangira says that yes, it is about you and me to change that narrative, to tell and show them abilities of persons with disabilities. So indeed, that has been done, especially by our brother who explained to us how he was able to challenge this narrative of being disabled and just sitting back home. So he says, for the slides, you'll get them from Stella. Yes. And then also Dr. Ntaro says, allow me to continue with the journey. And finally, Mr. Ambrose Maranja says that apologies, I have another meeting just now. Stella will share your questions. I will send answers together with my slide decks. Thank you, Dean, for your time. All the best. And that is it. Generally, no questions online, but you can proceed.
All right, thank you. We're on challenges, sharing challenges. I personally, I grew up, by the time I discovered myself, I was like the way you see me. So I don't know when it happens. Whenever I ask mom, she just cries. And we end there. But my point of argument is to everyone, every challenge always creates an opportunity for hard work. When I just joined school, the first day, I started as a day student from home, day scholar. But at that very day, rain showered, and I felt it. But mom told me, don't go to school. I said, I will go. When I grew up, I found out there is need for me to support myself. I asked my dad, if I don't go to school, how will I survive in this world? That was another question to him. The reason for the question is my dad had abandoned me. It is of recent that my dad knows with the university where I am. He knew this very year that I'm at must. He didn't know. By that one, couldn't stop me from working hard. Whoever was wishing me well could support me in continuous studies. My primary was funded by my maternal grandma. O level, after performing well in primary, I started for free. After doing well for my O level, I was the best in the district. I was called by a certain school to go for A level. I was supported for free. Then on that, I had to apply for government scholarship, and I was given. But what does it call? If I had sat down and said, I'm disabled. Being disabled physically does not affect the brain to function. That's why the point always comes. Don't judge the person before you see what comes out of the mouth. Actually, even someone can talk in a very arrogant, but when the actions are also good, always test the person, turn the person everywhere and see where is the right point you can connect, and just absorb what you want and go. On that point, I always end by saying hard work pays, and it is entitled to everyone, no matter your appearance, your level of education, your origin, your life to the society, how the environment treats you. Keep pushing, keep driving. You always prosper. I conclude by saying I remain Abyama James, Minister PWDs, and a PWDs activist in the community where I am always. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for again this chance. I see as if you are fearing me. Is it because I'm using hands to speak? Because everyone is looking at me strangely. I don't know why. I can speak, by the way, but I don't hear anything. But sure, I want to thank God for whatever He has given me, because life is normal to me. I have something very small. It's a kind of, I want to advise my brother. He's a minister for PWDs in this university. I want to request you to try to be a model and to see what other people and encourage more disabled people to come to the university. Because in Western Uganda, most PWDs go to Kampala for studies. So, and our universities in Western Uganda, they are not there. You go there, you wonder why. So let it be our responsibility now to encourage more to learn from Western universities. So, because we also have students with disabilities. I want to thank the Dean here. I'm very happy to see you here, because when we are here and the Dean is here, it means he's a responsible person, and maybe he can do something so that next time we don't oppress some PWDs are in villages being oppressed and they don't know that they can come here and study. So that is a big problem. So let's campaign for more to come and join. We can try and we do a campaign somewhere. We try to sensitize community to make awareness so that they know our needs. Most people learn to know our needs. You will see more students come here and it will be something good. Because you hear, my brother went to Kampala. Someone from Barara is going to Kampala, yet we have Mastia, which could have helped him. So let's try to cooperate. Let's have a voice, and we shall see people with disabilities improving and learning from around. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. My name is Kakuri Charles. I got an accident in 2001, and I lost my left eye completely. The one I have is artificial. But what is important is to accept. So immediately I accepted that I lost my eye, and I joined the disability movement. In 2000, I remember in 2002, I participated in politics and I represented persons with disabilities as a councillor. I served 2 terms. Yes. So during that time, I was a very active activist for persons with disabilities up to now. In this university, I was the only staff who was accepting that I am disabled. It is of recent when I was joined by Stella, and we became, this time we are 2, a male and a female. I contested to represent non-teaching staff on council, and they gave me votes. Then when I advocated for a slot of a person with a disability, because it was provided for in the act, but there was no one representable, but they don't, they fear that is a vulnerable position which no one should do. People doesn't want to be categorized in persons with disabilities. So we still have that challenge, but when you accept, I think, first of all, we are all human beings, and those who are able-bodied, they are candidates for disability. Thank you so much.
All right. It has been a great time, and we have had a good time to share, learn, and advocate. So it is time that we also have our last remarks and see what our focal person will have to tell us as we sign out, because no matter how good the speeches will be, still time matters. We have to call it off and call it a day. Madam Stella. All right, thank you so much for coming in all your capacities. Thank you so much for being here with us, for honoring the event that the minister at MUST in charge of people with disabilities organized. Thank you so much for honoring his invitation, and see you always as we plan for our future, as we plan for everything good for ourselves as people with disabilities. And finally, as I sign out, we shall have the final remarks from the Dean, and then we call it a day.
Okay, thank you very much. For that matter, I'll stand up, and mine is really now a simple role to thank everybody who came for participating and also for appreciating that human nature balances us out to be the same. And disability is not something that determines where to go or where not to go. Anytime, anywhere, as long as you are alive, you are a candidate of disability. I personally wanted to sit in, listen in, and see where, as members of society, we are not doing enough to help ourselves. What we are doing, we are saying that it is for people living with disabilities. It's actually sensitizing everybody that we should all be mindful, because we are all candidates of disability, even those who are not here. For the element of stigma, I took note of it. We should really have some more time and resources to inform all of us. We don't have to be stigmatized about anything. We need to be empowered. We need to appreciate ourselves so that we can bring out the best potential within ourselves. I want to thank Stella for organizing this. I want to thank James for coordinating. I want to thank our senior colleague, Charles, for finding time to come. Our visitors from Bishop Tuatu University, from BSU, and those who are online, that we appreciate all of you for your time, for your efforts, for your knowledge, for your input. God bless you all. Thank you. Well,